So I'm here with two students and two student friends, and I haven't coded Go in a little time. So we are going to do a Go website and get that up and running. So I'm just looking at Twitter and Ashley McNamara and why this is coming up. If you haven't seen her Ashley McNamara Gophers, and here's that URL. This is awesome. They have all this Go artwork. All the different Gophers. Batman Gopher. There's a lot of Gophers here. And based on the original artwork of Renee French. Pretty fun. I'm just looking to see if there was some other link. Where's that other link? My starred repos, and then we'll get to the coding. Your stars, and here's the other one that I've starred. We have all those. What was the difference? Ashley McNamara Gophers and Ashley McNamara Gophers blob master reading. Okay, it's just the reading file. There are the Gophers. There they are. All right. So let's start. We'll open up Go programming. I think I'll open up Go Web Dev because that's what we're going to do. So GitHub goes to 11. Golang Web Dev. I'll open that one up. And close this and close that. And then we have in temp, we've got Paradise HTML CSS down there. So we're going to create 55 website. Website. And if you want to find this code, GitHub goes to 11, Golang Web Dev is where you find it. And so I'll push this up afterwards. I'll be in 0 temp. And inside 0 temp, it'll be 55. So if you're watching this video online, that's where you will find it. I'm a little bit tired, so I'm going a little bit slow. So the first thing we need to do is just like do a Go file, and this will be main, and do package main, and then we're going to do func main, and then inside func main HTTP listen and serve. And so listen and serve, we have to tell it the address 8080, and then we're going to do nil, and that means we're going to use default serve mux, and that's a whole big lengthy explanation. If you're like not familiar with some of the things I mentioned, you can go to Greater Commons and take the Golang Web Development course right there, and that'll dial you into all this stuff. And I see a new message, but no, can't show up. So with listen and serve, that's going to stand up our web server, and then we could do http.handle. We have handler func, and a handler func is going to take a handle func. And so we want to put in here the route, and then we could do foo, and then we have to do func foo, and that is going to have a response writer, http.response writer, and it has to have the signature, and then a request, a pointer to an http.request. And so there's our func. And handler func foo evaluated but not used. Evaluated but not used. Handler func response writer and a request. Handler func. I need handle func. Handle func. There we go. Handle func. And that takes handle func takes a pattern, which is a string, and then value of type func, response writer pointed to request, and so we're getting that foo, which has func with response writer and a pointer to request. And so now here we could do io.write string, and we could write to our response, and we could say hello world. And we could write that out, and then we could run this terminal. We could do go, cd documents, no, cd, go, source, GitHub, goes to 11, go, Golang, web dev, bam, and cd, temp, 55, bam, go run, main.go, bam, and I'm going to allow that, and then do localhost 8080, and hello world just came out. Cool. So now we want to make this do a little bit more. And we want to create a folder that serves assets. So we could do a directory, and we'll call this, call it assets, or, and inside here we might have CSS. CSS, cool. And then we might also have inside here images. And that became a CSS file, so I'm going to try that one. I want a directory CSS. There we go. All right, and now we want to be able to serve things in assets. And so to serve things in assets, I have this code here, and we're looking for file server. It's always fun to try to write it by hand, but it's also nice just to copy and paste. What do you want to do?
Probably copy paste.
Let's write it by hand. The challenge is on. HTTP. And we're going to go look at net HTTP. Go doc. Net HTTP. And so what we're interested in using is their serve file. And then we have down here file server. And it returns a handler. The file server takes a root file system. Here's type file system. Type file system is an interface, and it has to have open, name, and then the file and an error. So it needs a function with the signature. If we come back here and look for something with that signature, find open, we have dir. Dir has open name and file and an error. So for something to be a file system, it has to have this. For something to implement file system, which is an interface, it has to have that method. Type dir has that method. And so since this one's a file system, a dir can go in here. And a dir is kind of a directory, right? It's a file system. And so dir has this method. So dir is a file system, so dir could go there. So file server is going to take a dir, and it returns a handler, right? Returns a handler. Returns a handler. So what needs a handler is handle. So handle takes a handler. And so if we look up here, we have handle, and we have handle func. Handle func took a function, takes a pattern, which is like a route, and it took a function, which this signature. That's why it's handle func. It takes a function with that signature. Handle just takes something that is a handler. What is a handler? A handler is an interface that has to have this something that has this method, serve HTTP response writer and a pointer to a request. Serve HTTP response writer and a pointer to a request. Okay, serve HTTP response writer. So we could kind of look through here, just come back here and do a kind of serve HTTP, and handler func as serve HTTP pointer to request, just kind of like looking at this. Serve HTTP is a serve mux. Serve HTTP there. Just kind of scrolling through. Handler. There's serve HTTP. Handler responds to an HTTP request. Serve HTTP should write reply headers. Just kind of looking through this to understand that. And look through there. Just checking all that out. Okay. So handle takes a handler, and we have type handler, which has these methods, and this returns a handler, and it takes the file server, takes a file system, and then, which means you have to have that method, which is what a dir has, and that gives us a handler. So we could go here and we could do HTTP handle. And then we could say anything that comes in at the route assets, right? We need to give it a handler. And we also know that HTTP file server returns a handler. Now it needs a dir there, right? So http.dir. Boom, dir, and it takes a file system. And so I think it should be dir. Let's look at dir and see what dir wants. Type dir is a string, right? And an empty dir is treated as that. Dir implements file system using the native file system restricted to specific directory tree. So native, whether you're Mac or Windows, right? The file system open method takes a / separated pass, while the file system open method takes a file dir string value as a file name on the native file system UR, so it's separated by file path, which isn't necessarily /. Note that dir will allow access to files and directories starting with a period, which could expose sensitive directories like .git directory or sensitive files like that. To exclude files with a leading period, remove files directories from the server or create custom file system implementation. An empty dir is treated as dot. Bye, have a good night. All right, so once a string, and we could give it root file system, maybe something like that. And then it's going to look in assets. So if it looks in assets, and we have here, right, so we also want to be able to serve templates. So we'll do a init, and we'll do TPL. So we'll do var TPL as a type from package template, a pointer to a template. And TPL will now be equal to template.must and template parse glob. And the glob that we're going to parse is going to be from templates. I might have blown something here. Let's see what happens. Directory templates. And we're just going to comment out this one for a moment, why we get just this part working. And so inside templates, I'll create a new file, and we'll call it index.gohtml. And put in some HTML. And just looking at that for a second. Okay. And then in here, hello. Cool. And so that's index.gohtml. We're going to parse everything that's in the templates folder, and templates /star.gohtml. And so that's going to go from here into templates and then go to any file that ends with gohtml. We're going to parse glob. And so that will parse everything in there, hopefully. And then here, we're going to do TPL execute template to our response. And execute template takes in the writer, the name of the template, and then any data. And it returns an error. Writer, the name of the template, and any data. And it returns an error. I think we do this. Cool. I miss writing Go code. It's been a little time. I haven't written it since May. Yeah. And so that's if error is not equal to nil, then we could do, just func.println or log.println, and good error, print out our error. All right, so let's see if that runs our code and what I need to fix if it doesn't. We'll see. Go run it again. Allow. And come back here. And localhost 80. Oh, well. You got that far already?
Oh yeah.
You got all that? No, but have you built that with your stuff yet?
No, we're actually in the beginning stages. But I was confused on just how you did the file directing the paths. But now I see what you're doing with the assets.
Yeah.
Question I asked you, when you did server.go, you said it can distribute the packages across different pages as long as they're in the same folder. Does that mean it's just distributing the import or everything? Like, so would you not have to call listen and serve again if you do another .go file?
No. So I could add more files in here. And so another file, and this could be about. And then I just create a new route. And I create a new function to handle that. I say this should be about. And
so you had like
that's it.
500 pages on your website. Would you want to do all the functions on one go?
So you could, if you wanted to, create. Oops. I could create a new Go file, and this one could be. This could be routes. And
yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Func load routes.
And then would you have to call the same ones from the editing?
And load routes. Just gonna load these routes.
And if you have overflow pages, you can do just the functions that keep going and have more space to work with.
Unused function load routes more. Where's my HTTP not coming in? Reports unresolved. Well, import it, man. That should be fine. It says Control Enter, right? And that was that. Control Enter. I don't know why that wasn't coming in. So so now I could do load routes. Right? And that should load all these. Let's see if that still works. Command line arguments, undefined load routes. That's main.go. Oh, because I got to do now go run star.go. Run all my Go files.
Oh, that runs everything?
Yeah, like all of the things. So I had more main and routes. So I had to run them all. No, this is being recorded. So that totally ran. So there are my routes. And then I could do, you know, I could just keep making Go files here. And this one could be, so handle takes a handler, handler takes a handler func. So, you know, if I wanted to, I could just do like I could just break these up, you know. So this one could be foo if I wanted, or it could be route.
I got a question.
Foo, right?
So like, let's say we're centralizing in the locations like Los Angeles, Fresno, and you have like tons of you have like South Beach, Fresno. You have like Tower District. Would it be better to go Fresno.go, or that's not a good idea?
That's fine. However you want to do it.
Then you just like handle all your functions for like Tower District or like California, Fresno, Los Angeles, New York would be like Manhattan. I'm really thinking about doing that.
Why am I not able to get those multiple choices? There we go.
And it would take all the packages and distribute it across the pages. I think say that on the demo course.
About. All right, I just have that. Here in this first part, loads routes, and then it listens and serves. And I have R about, route, route foo. All right, I'd probably rename this to R index. And rename this one to, here it needs to now be, this one index. I'll make the routes the index. And then it's called our index. This is index.go. Out. So now let's run it again just make sure it's all working. Hi? Oh, just talking to somebody. So that's working. Cool. So that's one way.
That works.
And then let's try to get that working. So now, if I wanted to have CSS from index go HTML, I'm going to have link, and then I want to say that, hey, this is in assets, and this is going to be main.css. And we'll call this reset.css. I'll go, yeah, let's go get it. GitHub. Goes to 11. Let's run HTML, CSS, bootcamp, and resets. Cloud reset. And raw. And then just come back over here. Go to assets and CSS. Undo. And then we'll call this reset. So that one will go to reset.css, and we'll call this index.css. And index.css, we could do we will do a main. A main will be height 100 equal height. You want some help? Are y'all done? You got it done, or do you need some help? Okay. All right, cool. Display flex, justify content, center, align items, center, and background image URL is equal to assets.images.paradise.jpg. Have a good night. Labeled reuse. And I really like this one. And so when you do this is paradise. And all right, so that's Paradise JPEG, and now we have Paradise JPEG. Cool. And so that's going to ask for that, and we'll do a background size cover, and background size, image, color, position, repeat, repeat, and background size, image, color, position, attachment, blend on, clip, origin, position. I guess just not like that. Repeat, size, image, color, position, center. Let's go. All right, and then we will do each one. It'll be like 8 font size, 8 red, and color white. And then on index, go HTML. We'll have headlines. It's all capitals. That? No. That? Why are these all capitals? That's all. Cool. Okay. So now back to main.go, and we're ready to serve our assets. So anything that comes in at /assets, that's going to be like here at index split vertically, or at index CSS split vertically. So we have CSS coming in at assets /resets. We have this image coming in at assets images. Oh, that needs to be assets CSS reset, right? This needs to be assets CSS index because it's in that assets folder and CSS. Okay, and that one's going to be /assets, just checking all that. So anything that comes in at assets, right, this route will handle it. And what we're going to do is we want to serve those CSS files, and we want to serve this image. And so if this comes in at assets, it's going to say, hey, serve everything from, I think we want to do in the assets folder. Everything in the assets folder. So the key here is this thing, strip prefix. And we'll try to work our way into explaining it. Index. And so find strip prefix. And so handler strip, this returns a handler also. And it takes in a prefix and a handler. So strip prefix. Strip prefix. Take this out for a second. So this returns a handler, right? You remember that? hb.strip prefix is going to take in a prefix that will strip out. And then it also takes in a handler. That returns a handler. So we got to think this logic through here. So this says, give me something that's in the assets folder. We come here, I handle anything that's in the assets folder and down the line. And what we're going to strip off is /assets. So this is going to assets / that's going to get stripped off. And then we're going to look inside the assets folder and serve from inside there. That got stripped off. Go into the images folder, go into Paradise. And so one of the ways it helps students understand this, because it's even still a little bit tricky for me to understand, is I could say that this folder is called files. And so if that was called files, then anything that comes in at assets, right? This will handle anything coming in at assets. And so we have our routes, and we could put this into routes. We'll put this into routes. There's our routes. So this is saying, hey, I need assets. Anything coming in at assets and down the line, so anything else. So it also includes not just specifically assets. This is only specifically about, but that little slash means anything that's assets and has additional stuff, like this has assets and additional stuff, right? So that little forward slash means also anything down that line, so include that forward slash. Anything coming in there, we're going to strip off assets forward slash from what the request was. So we're stripping off assets forward slash, and then we're going to look in the files folder. We're going to serve everything that's in the directory files forward slash, right? And so we're going to serve everything inside that. And what are we going to go? We're going to go into the images folder because that got stripped off, right? We're going to go in the images folder and then into Paradise. I think that's all going to serve. Are you ready?
Ready.
Load it all up. Allow. And if it all works, we're going to see a nice image. Didn't work. So we got Paradise that served that one file, but our images didn't get served. So assets, images, Paradise, JPEG. So let's just first check that and make sure that we did everything right there. IMGS, Paradise, JPEG, Paradise, JPEG. And we could also try our CSS here. Do we connect our CSS? And our CSS is going to be an index.go template, which is right here. And we have assets, CSS, reset, assets, CSS, index.css. And so that's fine because it asks for it at assets. And what are the routes? It asks for it at assets. And I think, one thing we could look at here is go into this and take it off of that. And go here and look at the elements. And we could open up the head. We want asset CSS reset. And so that looks fine. And go to network and refresh this page. And it didn't get these. It's looking for localhost 8080 asset CSS reset. And I'm just wondering if there's some way that we could print out kind of like a little debugging information here. So strip prefix, we're taking off assets, /. So that takes this off. Then we're going to serve from files, /. So I'm just going to open up my other code and see what I'm dropping here. So serving files, serving, and file server. And that'll probably be like right around here. Let's close all. Close all. And strip prefix assets. So that's right as ours. Let's compare it with ours. Assets. And assets. And strip prefix. So we're going to strip / all this off, and we leave, yeah, same thing. So at this route, we're stripping off that, and then we're going to serve it from // files. So from where this is running, that current directory, look into the files folder. That should run now. So the CSS came down, but Paradise didn't come down. Okay, so that Paradise word is there. You saw it. But our image isn't coming down, so let's figure out what's up with our image. And assets, CSS, assets. Isn't that a weird request? Assets, CSS, assets, images, Paradise. So what did I mess up on? Maybe it's in index go HTML.
Hey, if you have an image that was uploaded through like a file upload, well, I guess that's a different question because you'd be pulling it from a database. The same thing, right string, you wouldn't do that.
So for this one, we're asking for this from this file right here. So to get to that file, I think maybe we go up a level, and then we go into the images folder. So let's see if that fixed it. Let me answer that question in a moment.
It might be a question for way down the road. We're going to use MySQL, I guess, instead of Mongo, because it's just more familiar with us.
There you go, man.
What do you think? You like Mongo? Oh, there it is.
Either way.
MySQL is just a little bit less complicated. JSON is really throwing us off.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
You actually cleared that up perfectly.
did that help you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then you have sessions right down here. So you could add in session info and how to do sessions right there. And then you have code organization. Code organization right here. Or you have like, that'd be really helpful to look at. Templates, config, your database and your templates, and the main.
See, I love Golang now.
Yeah, it's cool.
We really figured out how simpler it is than PHP. It looks complicated, but after a while, you understand why it's just going to be better for building a larger scale app or anything like that. I wonder how this stacks up to Python for the speed. Or
It's better.
it's better than Python.
Yeah.
Wow.
What am I using config in here? There it is. I wasn't highlighting. So those are two good folders to look at: code organization, multiple packages, and then sessions, expire session. Like you combine all that code, you'll have something nice. Pretty easy. Hope this was helpful.
Yeah.